I'm Dave Johnson, an associate with Hinman Straub in Albany. I'm here with Jim Potter, a principal of the firm. We are at least 6 feet apart right now. Jim, can you tell us about your practice?
I'm the chairman of the Hinman Straub Litigation Department. My primary focus is in commercial litigation. Hinman Straub has a very diverse practice. Our areas of concentration are government relations, healthcare, and labor and employment relations, among other things.
How has COVID-19 affected your firm?
Well, like every firm in New York State, as of I think around March 17th, we had to close our offices. Because we support the healthcare industry, certain of our lawyers were deemed to be essential workers. So a few of our lawyers were able to come in. Under the governor's program, firms upstate went into phase 2, I believe, in June. So our firm came back at about a 50% level as of June.
How have you been able to conduct your practice when so much of what you normally do would be face-to-face?
Well, like every attorney, I've spent a lot of time on the telephone, on video conferences, and on emails.
Have you done much work in person since the shutdown, despite all of the technology?
Well, as a result of us coming back, we're still very observant of social distancing, and we try to avoid having people into the office. Still, some clients, particularly new clients, particularly older clients, have found it important to come in. So I've seen a few clients in the office, and there are certain things that are now being done live. So, for example, today I actually went to a closing where our town purchased 2 parcels of property to add to our town parkland. I'm our town attorney. We were unable to do that for about 6 months because the county clerk's office was shut down. And our title searcher couldn't find the documents that were necessary electronically, so we had to wait for that office to open. And we're starting to do some depositions live, although people are still trying to do those remotely.
And have you had any live court appearances during the shutdown?
The courts also shut down around March 17th. There were a certain limited number of matters that were deemed to be emergency matters. So, for example, criminal arraignments, certain family court matters, and certain housing court matters. Interestingly, I had scheduled for March 17th an extreme risk protective order, which is a hearing, which is a new procedure where a police agency can take away someone's guns if they're deemed to be an extreme risk. Requires a hearing because of the Second Amendment implications. I represent our town's police force. I thought that the matter was off that day. I came into the office in casual clothes, realized the hearing was on, ran over to the courthouse, and the first thing Judge Peter Lynch said on the record was, let the record reflect that Mr. Potter is appearing in court without a tie. I've known Judge Lynch for about 20 years. That was firmly tongue-in-cheek, and we proceeded with the hearing. I examined 3 witnesses, and we all made do despite my lack of formality.
Safe to say that was probably the first time in your career that you've appeared in court without a tie?
First time and the last time.
And have you had any virtual court appearances?
We have. The courts came back upstate virtually, I believe, in April. Very early on, I had a motion that was argued before Judge Karolounis, who's a commercial division judge in Syracuse. We did that by telephone. That worked out very well. The judge gave us about an hour. Now, we did not have the benefit of being able to judge the judge's reactions visually, but the judge asked a lot of questions, and so I think it was a very effective argument for both sides. I had another matter in May before Judge Freestone in Saratoga. We conducted a settlement conference via video link. And the judge was very adept with the technology. She would put one side in a holding pattern while she talked to the other, and then would shuttle back and forth. It was a case that really none of the attorneys had any expectation of settling, and within an hour we came to a resolution. We've also done a number of status conferences and compliance conferences, preliminary conferences by telephone. Dave, you know the asbestos case we're working on. We have about 20 or 30 defendants. You went to a couple of the early conferences that were live. Now, our last conference we did via video link, and I thought that was effective. That took about a half an hour, and we accomplished an awful lot via video.
When did your firm return to the office?
We returned in early June, and we returned on a 50% level in accordance with the Phase 2 guidelines at the time.
Were there any challenges to returning?
For us, it was not bad. In Albany, most of our attorneys and staff drive to work, so we don't have the challenges of maintaining social distancing that the metropolitan areas face, where you're traveling to work via subway, train, or city bus. We also have all become very adept at wearing face masks when we're out of the privacy of our individual offices.
And have you seen any benefits to the new work arrangements?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of benefits to it. Certainly, we've all avoided commute times. So, Dave, I know you've got about a 45-minute drive. So, we now can all roll out of bed, grab a cup of coffee, and be at our computers working within about 15 minutes. That's been a benefit. I think there's also been great efficiencies for clients. Back to the example of the conference we had in the asbestos case. That's resulted in significant efficiencies because you don't have to travel for a conference. You can now do that via telephone. Now, that's not to say that all conferences can be conducted that way. I think many conferences, there's a tremendous benefit to having the parties there in person.
And how about any downsides?
Yeah, I think that depends. I think that depends on the attorneys and frankly the age group of the attorneys. So for the experienced attorneys, I have not seen as many downsides. The more experienced attorneys already have a relationship with their adversaries. They've litigated with and against them over the years. They know the judges know them. As an example, yesterday I had a client who was served with a summons with notice. I made my appearance electronically. I picked up the phone and called the plaintiff's attorney, who I've known for 30 years, just to have a conversation about what the case is about. I could do that. He took my call. He was eager to talk about the case. And I think that's because we already knew each other and had that relationship. And I think that's much more difficult for a younger attorney. I think the younger attorney is losing the benefit now of networking opportunities. You don't have the opportunity to go to court, see your adversary, react with your adversary before your case is called. You don't have an opportunity to get to know the judges and have the judges get to know you, during this period of COVID shutdown. I also think we lose the benefit of spontaneous mentorship. As an example, oftentimes younger attorneys will come into my office. I may not be working on the case, but they'll ask, how would they have a situation? How would you handle this? What do you think about my approach? Is this a good thing? Now certainly, I think any senior attorney within the firm would welcome a telephone call if an associate or younger attorney is working from home. But I think the younger attorneys are more reluctant to pick up the phone and make that call to an attorney who's not working on the case. I think we also lose the benefit of the social interactions in the office, where we get to know each other, ask about each other's families, our vacations, things like that. I think that promotes a collegiality and a collaborative nature that we've kind of missed over the course of the last 9 months now, 6 to 9 months of our COVID shutdown.
It's hard to socialize around the office coffee maker when the coffee maker's turned off for safety reasons.
No question about that, and I'm bringing my thermos of coffee in every day.
And do you foresee any permanent changes as a result of everything that's happened this year?
That's hard to say. I think certainly as we get back now, and we've been back upstate for about 2 to 3 months, I think we're seeing the benefit of the collegiality and the collaborative environment that an office provides. I mean, this has been the model for 100 years, and it's worked very successfully. On the other hand, I think certain firms, particularly in the high-cost real estate markets, are going to see a certain benefit to reduced office space and to reduce commuting times. We have a client who is an insurance company. They have an office in New York, and several years ago, they went to a work-from-home model for their in-house counsel, and counsel would come in and effectively desk share, come in 1 or 2 days a week, and otherwise work from home. I think there's going to be a lot of thinking about whether that's an appropriate model in certain circumstances.
Great. Well, thank you.